So this next video lecture is about uh, Module 7, Strategic Cost Management. Okay, so first we will discuss about the basic concepts of strategic cost management. Okay, so strategic decisions normally is making or choosing among the different options or alternatives of strategies with the goal of selecting the best strategy for a company with a reasonable assurance of long-term growth and survival. So basically, this is the main reason why most of the enterprise or the company are making strategic decisions, okay, for survival and long-term growth. So the key to achieving this goal is, of course, to gain a competitive advantage. So normally, the strategic cost management is using the data for the different costs to develop and identify what strategies will produce sustainable competitive advantages. So normally, they focus not only on the cost, but as well as the reasons or the cost drivers that affect or influence the uh, expenses or costs. And then later on, they will identify the strategies to minimize those costs. So the strategic positioning, so this is also known as the key to creating and sustaining a competitive advantage. So it is actually a basic a theory or concept for organizations, especially in the case of a manufacturing company, okay, to have this competitive advantage and also for the achievement of the strategic goals. Okay, so actually not only for manufacturing firms but for all of the different kinds of firms in the industry. So here, when we say the term competitive advantage, this is what we mean by creating better customer value. So this is one way of having a competitive advantage because most of the competitors will normally target not only on the quality of the goods or services that they offer, the price, okay, but also or ultimately customer value. So here, um, aside from having such, of course, it is important that that the organization or the enterprise will also focus on lowering the cost so that they will be able to offer lower price for their goods or services. But at the same time, they should make sure that the quality of the goods and services should not be um, sacrificed. Okay, so another, when we say the term customer value also, so this is known as the difference between what a customer receives or the customer realization upon the purchase and the consumption or use of the goods or services, and what the customer gives up or customer sacrifice. So in short, when we say customer value, this is the qualitative value that a customer receive upon purchasing a particular good or service. Okay, in uh, or if compared, I mean, with the value or the price that they pay. Okay, so for example, if they paid for 100 pesos, so is that or is the satisfaction or usefulness of the goods or services also equal to or more than 100 pesos when they use or consume that good or service? Okay, so that is customer value. So basically, here for the entity to gain competitive advantage for uh, customer value, they should make sure that the value that the customers receive should at least equal to or somehow exceed, okay, the price or the cost of that on the part of the customers. Okay, so as customers also, we can feel and we will know somehow, okay, the qualitative value of the goods or service that we purchase, okay, comparing that with the money that we pay for it. Okay, so that is what we call customer value. So what a customer receives should be, or this is the ideal concept, should be more than simply the basic level of performance that is provided by a product or services. So here, the product or service should meet or exceed expectations of the customers. So what is received is the total product, okay, the purchased product. So this is how the customer later will realize, okay, upon purchasing and consuming, okay, that particular good or service. So what about the total product? Okay, so we've mentioned that in the previous slide. Okay, what is received is the total product. So when we say total product, basically this is the complete range of tangible and intangible benefits that the customer receives from the purchased product. So meaning to say, it's not only about the physical feature, but the satisfaction or the utility that it provides when that product or service is being consumed or used. Okay, so this is what we mean by the total product. So therefore, the customer realization will include basic, okay, the basic and the special product features, okay, the service, the quality, instruction for using such, of course, the reputation, the brand name, and any other factors that deemed important for the customer. So normally, um, we, or as an example, as of or as a customer, um, you purchase a particular product or service because there is something in that product that makes you uh, or that invites you to purchase it. Okay, like for example, the reputation or the brand name. So normally this is the first things that we look into a product. But again, depending on the type of customers, on what basic and special product features uh, does they prioritize when it comes to purchasing. Okay, so but again, all of these are included on the customer realization upon using or purchasing that good or service. So customer sacrifice, this is what we pay for, okay, in order to uh, purchase, okay, that particular good or service. So this may include, of course, first of all, the cost of the of purchasing the product. So it's purchase price, its transportation cost, and other related expenses for purchasing such. Okay, so the time and effort also for us acquiring. Like for example, you acquired it and um, from a physical store, so you have to get there in order to purchase that good. Okay, as well as learning to use the product, especially if that is new. Okay, so there is also your time and effort for learning to use the product is also considered as customer sacrifice. So meaning to say here, if the customer finds it difficult to use the products, then um, normally they would not purchase it again, or they would not recommend it, okay, for referral for other customers, okay, because they have experienced difficulties, especially in using the product. So that's why most of the entities are also creating products that are user friendly. Okay, so this is one way also of having competitive advantage over your competitors. Okay, so aside from that, sacrifice also includes post purchase costs. So what do we mean by post purchase costs? These are the cost of using, maintaining, and disposing of the product. So mean to say here, for example, in a cellular phone, the cost of using it is you have to buy load or pay for your internet service provider, cost for charging, okay, cost of maintaining, like for example, if it has any damage that needs to be repaired, okay, or change of battery and others. Okay, and when it comes to disposing of the product, so there might be some cost that may be involved as well. So meaning to say, in a particular product, the customer sacrifice does not only uh, end upon the payment of the purchase price of acquiring such product. It extends, okay, until post-purchase cost, until the disposal actually of the product. Okay, so this is also an important consideration that the manufacturer or the business enterprise should include, okay, especially when creating model or their product. Okay, so because they should consider the customer sacrifices. Okay, because in this case, if the customer have already experienced such difficulties, again, they might not want to purchase it anymore. Okay, so increasing customer value. How to increase the customer value to achieve a competitive advantage? So normally, this is closely tied to judicious strategy selection. So how do you do that? Okay, of course, this is with the use of the theory, concepts, and knowledge about strategic management. So basically, we have three general strategies, okay, that has been identified and is being used in the field. Okay, so the first strategy. So again, this is part of the strategic positioning for creating competitive advantage. So the first one is cost leadership. So here, the objective of cost leadership strategy is, of course, to provide the same or better value to the customers, but with a lower cost than that is being offered by the competitor. So here, if you are one of the players, then you should also uh, take note of the cost of the inputs that is being used to produce your product. So the objective here is to minimize the cost of the input so that um, later on, when pricing the product for selling, it might have a lower price compared to your competitors. But again, you have to make sure as an entity that you do not sacrifice the quality of the product, okay, because you just want to lower the cost of producing it. So here, customer value is defined, okay, again, as the difference between the realization and sacrifice. So a low cost, as mentioned earlier, strategy will increase customer value because we minimize the customer sacrifice in the form of or I mean in terms of its selling price, because you produce the product for a lower production cost. So a company might redesign. So here are some of the considerations where they can minimize the cost of production. So they can redesign the product so that there will be fewer parts that will be needed, or they can lower the production cost uh, and maintain the product after the purchase. Okay, so it's a tedious work on their part because they have to do research and development or seek the uh, advice of the experts, okay, on how they can minimize the cost using the redesign or redesigning their product. Okay, so this could actually minimize the input or the cost of production. Okay, so that is for cost leadership. So again, here your objective is to have a lower purchase or selling price compared to your competitors, but without sacrificing the quality of the product. So the next or the second strategy for strategic positioning to achieve competitive advantage is differentiation. So here, this strategy strives to increase the customer value by increasing what the customers receive or customer realization. Okay, so here, how do they do the differentiation? So this is created by providing something to customer that is not provided by the competitors. Meaning to say, this also could be related to the uniqueness of your product. Although your product is the same with that of the competitors, but um, there is something unique, okay, that unique feature that is present in your product that cannot be found, okay, from the products being offered by your competitors. So the product characteristics must be created that uh, to set the product apart from its competitors. Okay, so for example, if you are selling shampoo, so this is not an ordinary shampoo. You might add some conditioner, uh, uh, other ingredients or product component that will add value, okay, to the customers when they use it, okay, compared to that of your competitors. Okay, so these are the characteristics or additional features. But again, if an entity would take this strategy, so there might be an additional production cost that will also increase the selling price of your product. But again, you have to make sure that the increase of this cost should also add customer value, okay, so that the customers will not uh, be disappointed or their expectations are met, because normally there are consumers or customers that are willing to pay a higher price provided that the product or service are of high and good quality. Okay, so differentiation can occur by adjusting the product so that it is different, okay, from that of the norm, or by promoting some of the product's tangible or intangible attributes. So again, the bottom line here is that you have a unique feature that cannot be seen or observed or experienced from that of the products that are being offered by your competitors. So the differentiation can be in the form of its functionality, aesthetic, or style. Okay, so it can be in terms of the use. It has additional facility, utility. Okay, it has additional feature or style uh, that makes it unique. Okay, apart from that of the competitors' products. Okay, so and the third is focusing. So this is the third strategy. So here, this strategy is selecting or emphasizing a market or customer segment in which you would want to compete. So one possibility is to select the markets and customers that appear attractive and then develop the capabilities to serve this targeted segment. So normally, uh, in our present setup today, most of the products normally centers or focus on a particular segment. So they may target the younger generation, young adult, male, female, according to religion, geographical location, and the like. Okay, so this is of course to make sure that your product has a target market in which these products will normally be sold and generate profits. Okay, so because it has a specific purpose on a specific market or segment. So another is to select also specific segments where the firm's core competencies, okay, in the segments are superior to those of the competitors. So normally, uh, when choosing the target market, you also have to make sure that you have the capabilities and it is your strength, okay, that uh, will be used so that sales and profit will surely be generated. Okay, so you should not focus on those segments which you think you are weak and you don't have any opportunities. Okay, so this also recognizes that not all segments, the customers and geographic regions are the same, and some segments are even more attractive. Okay, so of course, um, basically, every individual has their own differences. So you have to classify them according to their age, gender, preference, taste, religion, educational background, geographical location, and others. Okay, so to make sure that you are focusing and selecting, okay, the proper target market or segment in which your product should be sold. Okay, so strategic positioning is the process of selecting the optimal mix of those three general strategic approaches. So, in case, for example, if the entity wants to use those three, normally you can also use even one or two. Okay, so depending on your capabilities and resources, you can also use those three strategies. So for in order for you to achieve strategic positioning, so you should make sure that you select the optimal mix. What do we mean by optimal mix? Meaning to say, you should select, okay, the best mix of using cost leadership, differentiation, and focusing, okay, in um, selling your goods or services. So the mix is selected with the objective of creating a sustainable competitive advantage. I mean to say, you have to make sure that it is your strength and you have the opportunities to do it, or else it will be a failure if it's not chosen or applied uh, correctly, okay, and strategically. So a strategy reflecting combinations of those three general strategies can be defined as choosing the market and customer segments the business units intends to serve. So that's why um, it has been mentioned for how many times that the entity should be careful in selecting the segments in which they want to join, okay, because uh, it will include sacrifices such as investment, time, and effort, okay, as well as capital and other related investments. Okay, so these are expenses and costs on the part of the entity. So that's why they have to be very careful in choosing the market and customer segments. Identifying the critical internal business processes that the units must excel at to deliver the propositions to customers in the target market segment. So this is also important because the input and the processes that the entity is using and applying also adds factors of success, okay, in strategic positioning, and not only by carefully selecting the segments that they want to join, okay, because here the processes and the inputs that they employ will serve as the backbone, okay, of what their product or services will look like, or their output would look like, okay, and offer it to their customers. So this is also important, as well as selecting the individual and organizational capabilities, okay, are required for the internal customer and financial objectives. So the main objective of strategic cost management, therefore, is to reduce the cost while simultaneously strengthening the chosen strategic position. The competitive advantage is tied to cost. So here, since we are talking about strategic cost management, so we focus on the cost, okay, on choosing the strategic position. So just like what I have mentioned earlier, choosing the segment as well as the internal processes and input, the individual and the organization as a whole entails investment. So meaning to say there is cost, okay, in us or on the part of the entity in order for them to gain their desired, the expected sales or profit. Okay, so that's all for strategic cost management basic concept.